Well, for most of you watching, I want to welcome you back to our ongoing series here where we are walking through the chapter review labs that end each chapter of our Packet Tracer for CCNA textbook. And it's time for us to configure some basic access controls for our devices. Now, this one I'm going to read ahead on. It's always good to do that. We're going to configure R3 with an encrypted privilege mode password. Okay, simple. And then configure R3 to encrypt any unencrypted passwords that might exist in the configuration. And then in step 2, configure R3 to permit legacy telnet access. And users need to provide a password of Cisco123 bang. So guess what? That's going to be my unencrypted password. So I'm actually going to do step 2 first, and that will allow me to verify fully my step 1. And then step 3 is just going to be basically verifying that configuration by telnetting into R3 from R1. All right, well, let's go ahead and go to R3 then, and let's configure telnet access. I know, this seems very, very strange since this would be frowned upon in today's world. But we are in a lab, so maybe telnet is needed in this lab environment. So I'm going to go to line VTY 0 to 4, and I'm going to say transport input. Let's allow telnet. What a strange config. We are so used to doing transport input SSH. But transport input telnet, and we want to check for passwords at login. And yeah, I always forget the order. We're going to set the password that they want. And woof, let me make sure I got my caps lock off and type that in correctly. So password Cisco123 bang, then our login command under the VTY lines. So look at that. That is our legacy config. Transport input telnet, password Cisco123 bang, and then log in. If I end and I show the running configuration, sure enough, we have a plain text password in our config. Yuck. So we are going to fix that right now by going back to step 1 and encrypting any unencrypted passwords. And of course, that is with the service password encryption command. So I issue that. I do my show run again, and we have encryption of that clear text password. Great. I'm going to save. Made a lot of changes here. Have not saved yet. Something else we need to do on R1, as we know, is we need to go and we need to add an encrypted privilege mode password of Cisco123. You may have noticed we go right into privilege mode without a challenge. So we are going to change that. We're going to say enable secret Cisco123. Again, watch out for typos in your actual CCNA exam. Wouldn't that be a nightmare if you miss points just due to a typo? All right, I'm saving again. I'm about to leave the R3 device, and we are going to wrap up this straightforward review exercise by going over to R1 and seeing if we can telnet into R3. You know my style here. One of the things I like to do is make sure I can actually reach R3 first. Yeah, that's a really good idea. So I'm going to show IP interface brief, and it looks like here is the IP address of R3 that we are going to use on R1. And I want to make sure I can get to that address. So I am going to ping it first. Yeah, you'd hate to try and telnet in, have telnet not work, start troubleshooting your telnet configuration when the whole time it was a reachability issue. Ugh, yeah, we don't want to go down that path, especially in the exam environment where time is so incredibly precious. All right, well, I'm going to do telnet 10.23.23.3, and look at this. Cisco 123 bang was our password, and we are in on the R3 device. So I am going to exit. Notice I didn't make any changes on R1, but I'm going to save my configuration there just out of paranoia. So this is an interesting exercise because a lot of us have not configured telnet in a real long time. So the telnet, the legacy telnet configuration, yeah, that might not be something you have practiced in a real long time. Well, let's go ahead and check our results, and thank goodness we have met with a perfect configuration for the chapter review lab. Well, I'll be back for chapter 22 coming up next, and I hope you'll join me there.